Hi, I'm Chris from Gears and Queers.
And I'm Chris from Sparkplug TV.
And this is Fun Girly Car Time. Hello, Ariana Grande.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's Britney. Wait, what does she do?
Yeah.
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 Yes. And.
Yes. And I'm going to date SpongeBob.
Someone made that joke to me, and I did not realize that he had, what was it, like Broadway? He like played SpongeBob on Broadway.
Yes.
Well, good for her.
And.
Yes. You know, okay, so the first 10 seconds of that song, banger material, I'll say it. Like the intro is bangable.
I'm not a big fan of the bridge. I'm usually like, I love a bridge. Like
Honey.
Stronger by Britney Spears has got to be one of the most iconic bridges in music history. I mean, the whole song is like my favorite Britney song.
So I love that song. What part is the bridge?
Oh, Jesus. I didn't know this was a quiz. I didn't prepare.
I'm not quizzing you. I just want to know.
I don't remember.
You being like you being like, that has the strongest bridge ever. Me being like, what's a bridge? What part is the bridge? And you're like, I. When she said, "Here I go on my own," I felt that.
Here I go on my own. I don't need nobody.
I don't need nobody, better off alone.
Wait.
Me no more.
Well, there's really not that. The dipping in and out of the camera is really cute. Yeah, the bridge on Yes and is just not my favorite. She's like whispering and she's like, my tongue is sacred, I speak upon what I like. And I mean, it's like, I kind of like it, and I hate to admit that I like it. I don't know. It's
like she's speaking through those sweaters being over the end of her hand. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you don't see her. You don't see her with her hands out of her shirt. It's very that. Yeah. She's like singing she, like, fucking step up. Like, you have a voice. Like, we don't need to hear you whispering. Wait, so if I'm Ariana Grande, what does that make you? Lisa Vander Oil Pump? That was a stretch, but I will allow it because I didn't think of anything, so we'll go with that one. Speaking of oil, I have a story to tell you about maintenance this week. Ooh, I do love maintenance. Let's hear it. What happened, Miss Ma'am? Okay, well, I hope everybody listening is sitting down and or in the car and has a long time to listen to this story, because I'm actually spending more time describing that it's a long story than actually getting into it. So here we go. I am a fan of doing my own maintenance. I think you can save a lot of money doing that. And luckily, my dad is a mechanical engineer and knows what he's doing in a lot of these spaces. And I know what I'm doing in most things. Like I can replace a lot of things like, air filters and oil and transmission fluid and, whatever I need. Basic maintenance I can do. When I first did my oil change on my Tahoe, I wish it was a Tahoe. When I did my first oil change on my Colorado, I somehow stripped the plug bolt for the oil pan. I don't remember doing it. So I've changed my oil 3 times since owning it, 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. And the last time my dad helped me get it off because it was stripped at that point. This time I was at their house dog sitting. So I tried because they were in the mountains with my brother. And so I used vice grips to clamp down onto my nipple. I'm just kidding. I used vice grips to clamp down on really car time is now branching into erotica. Autoerotica. Autoerotica. That could be a t-shirt. But like auto, like OTTO, like the auto cycle engine. Autoerotica. I don't know that engine. Continue your story. So I tried vice grips, didn't work. I tried several vice grips actually. Yes,
several vice grips on your nipple. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the drain plug, and I couldn't get it. And then I was like, well, let me get a 13 millimeter socket and hammer it onto it, because it was like a size like smaller than what it was, but because it was stripped, like I think it would have fit on it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it. Right. So I had to go back. And so I went back on Monday, and it's always something with me. Like, it's always something extra. Like, it's always something. It's not just nothing is simple in my life. Like, everything has to be fucking something else. So I went back yesterday, and my dad took the plug off. I put a brand new bolt on. It was fine. I replaced the oil. I changed the filter. Great. Whatever. Right. Then I go to empty the bad oil from the pan, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like emptying it into the bottle that the new oil came in. And I thought I had some, because you know how it's got like that clear line on the back of the oil bottle to show you how much
I know that
oil is in there. And so I think that there is like at least like a half inch that is like plastic that is not clear. And they make you think that it's like not like translucent. So it overflowed over the top, and it was just getting all over my dad's garage. And I'm literally sitting outside screaming like obscenities left and fucking right, being like, what the fuck? My parents' house is so well insulated that they couldn't fucking hear a goddamn peep. And I'm literally out there like I could have been like brutally murdered. And so I get it. I get it kind of like situated enough. And then I like swing open the door, and I'm like, can you guys not fucking hear me? I'm yelling my head off out here. And they're like, no. And then so luckily my dad was on a call, because like if he had come out there, it would have been a whole thing. And so my mom and brother come outside, and they're just standing there, and they're staring at me while I'm like wiping up the fucking oil. And I like slowly turn around, and I'm like, hello, are you going to help me?
They're like, absolutely not.
And so my brother got Dawn dish soap, and then like I wiped it all up. And
I love how he was like, I've seen them use this to clean birds on TV, so I'm going to use it on the floor.
Actually, that's what I said to him.
I now keep in my home, in my garage, I now keep that like oil absorbent shit, because
what are you talking about?
It's basically kitty litter. Like it's like a powdery bullshit that you use specifically to soak up like oil and like other fluid spills.
It's like what they would use in middle school when kids would throw up.
Like, yeah.
Kind of, right?
I didn't put that together, but like it probably is the same or very similar. They would put this
like powder that looked like kitty litter down on the ground for like anytime there was a biohazard in.
Girl, one of the things is like, try as I might, I am going to spill some goddamn engine oil, some fluids. Like when I did the thermostat on the ML, apparently, if your ML has had a replacement radiator, they don't have a drain. Petcock, another fun word. So you just have to drain the radiator and the cooling system by taking off the lower radiator hose.
Wait.
Yes, the word is petcock. That's one word. Petcock.
What is that?
Google it. Google radiator petcock right now. It's not going to be obscene.
I don't know if my history can take that.
Girl, you and I both know there's worse things in that history.
That's honestly so true. My history is laden with sniffies. So it's like okay. It's like just a drain plug. Why do they have to fucking call it? Is it called a cock because of the like because like this part right here, this like,
is it like dick and ballsy? Like, is that what you're saying? Like that's balls?
No, what is that badminton? What is that badminton ball called?
Babcock. Is cock in the word? Is cock in the name?
Yeah.
Badminton. I'm Googling it. Badminton cock. What is that? This is my own computer. Shuttlecock.
Shuttlecock. So it must be called it. Cock. Cock must indicate that it has some kind of like flared out. There has to be some definition for cock.
It's a good thing that we are not etymologists.
True. But we're also not talking about anything animalistic. Is that what etymology is?
You know what was animalistic is the noise I made when gallons of coolant began pouring out of the fucking lower radiator flange when I took off that low radiator hose. I literally squawked, and then it was like dripping down my arm, shooting out of the hose. Fortunately, it was like pretty cool, like it wasn't hot, all over the floor. And I like struggled to get it back onto the radiator. And when I finally did, I just started laughing because I was like, I cannot believe I made such a mess in such a short period of time. Like I had a bucket, I had everything, missed the bucket. Like God was not in the room, right? Like it was just bad. It was awful.
God was never in the room.
Honey, not in this house, honey. But God, the amount of times I've spilled oil, used oil. I've done the exact same thing you did. Like that's why I now have, it looks like a baking sheet.
I know, but your story sounds funnier.
Because I'm just dumber in that very specific way. But now I have this like, it's like literally, it looks like a fucking cookie sheet, but it came from a Napa and it says, do not bake. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm really going to use my oil soaked, like my fucking 5W30 soaked grease pan to fucking make cookies. But no, like I have this specific corner of the garage, which is where I pour used oil, because if I spill it like that, it'll just catch it in this pan. You have to make a lot of mistakes and clean up a lot of, oh my God, you just unlocked a memory. This is actually probably significantly worse than what you did. So
I love
when my parents were building their house in 2014 is when we moved in, like mid 2014. This must have been the end of 2013. We had to move into, the builder had like a series of like apartments where if you like sold your house, like, but your new house wasn't ready yet, like you could pay them and lived in this apartment for a while.
Oh,
so we lived there for a couple months. I fucking despised living in that apartment with my parents. But anyway, I had changed the oil in my car in the parking lot and I had nowhere to put it, the used oil. So I put it in a bag and I put it in, there was like a second, like a spare room that like none of us were using. So like I put it in there, like so just all of our shit went. My father knocked it over, didn't know what was in it. To his credit, used motor oil should not be stored in a bag in the home on carpet. And used motor oil got all over the carpet of this fucking rental apartment. And I honestly thought he was going to kill me because like watching the synapses in his brain fire as they realized that I had put used motor oil into a bag, like it was in a container, but into a bag and then set it inside on carpet. Like it was, you know, those like PTSD memes where it's like someone's face and it's like a helicopter and shit.
Yeah, the 1,000-yard stare. Yeah.
Would you believe though, that was cleaned? Like he had someone come out to clean the carpet and they cleaned it. Like I never would have expected that you could get nasty used motor oil out of a fucking carpet.
Wow. You this is the second story that you've told me involving your family and something of a mishap with what you did with oil or other lubricants where you had like not like that. Like the oh my God, that story with your mom and the steering fluid.
Oh my God, what did she do? She put used transmission fluid in the power steering.
Yeah, the power steering because you left it there.
So what we've learned is that I leave used automotive fluids in really bad places.
Yeah.
Like in the wrong containers, in the wrong location. Yeah. At least it's my fault now. Like, and I'm the only one that lives in this house. So,
and I just have terrible depth perception. Apparently, I don't like.
Well, like, here's the thing. Like, unless you buy one of those, which I do now have, actually, like, it's like a much more solid, like, 10-quart container that you pour the used oil in. You take it to, like, the recycling thing.
Yeah, and that's what my dad has. Yeah,
But unless you get one of those bitches, right? Like, you are pouring it back into the container you got it from, like you did, right? And sometimes they don't even got the little witness
the translucent
line, whatever the
line
fuck
thing.
it is. Yeah. And so you're just
say
like,
witness line?
girl, I don't know. It's been a week, okay? But like, you're pouring it into this tiny funnel, into this little bottle, and you're holding like the fucking millimeter thick plastic pan that's like holding, 6 or so
and it's
quarts
slippery
of oil.
because it's got
Yes.
oil on it.
Because it's full of a lubricant, right? And so then you're just like trembling as you try to throttle this shit into this fucking container. And like, yeah, like, I hope you don't sneeze because that shit's going everywhere.
No, literally, I had to like enact leg muscles that haven't been enacted in like a year to like figure out how to like amicably get this used motor oil into, but apparently not even successfully. So here we are. But my oil has changed, my tires are rotated, and I'm ready to get rid of it.
She's ready. She's like, I changed the oil at least once and it's gone.
I'm so over this truck. Like, I don't need it anymore. I was actually, so my, one of my, okay. Yeah. So my, client, who I do like cinematography stuff for, they have, it's a used car dealership. And that's where, for the listeners, I saw a red C4 Corvette today with the 5.7 V8. And it was Gorgina.
Gorgina Gorge.
And according to Miss Landry, it looked like a boomer. What the fuck did you call them? Boomer?
I think I said I probably said either that it was giving or serving New Balance Boomer.
New Balance. Are you saying, so I saved this for the, so are you saying that it's a boomer wearing New Balances?
Have you never heard that about Corvettes?
No.
That like Corvette dads roll up in their New Balances to the like car show and whip out the folding chair and just sit there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I have heard that meme. Yeah.
So like the specific C4 that you sent, I said that it was serving New Balance Boomer because it had like a weird racing stripe on the fender, but it was also automatic and it had weird exhaust tips. And I'm like,
yeah, those exhaust tips weren't it. But
like, I love a C4. I stay in a C4.
Yeah. Well, it was just very nostalgic. Because my dad had a C4 when I got my driver's license. So, and he mistakenly let me drive that, into which I almost crashed it power sliding once. I don't even think he knows that. And
at least it was almost.
Yeah, true. And every time I pass that road, I'm like, oh, that's where I almost lost my life. Either had it been in the accident or by telling my dad after the fact.
Yep.
And then I also went an ungodly speed on a highway that I will not disclose publicly how fast I went. My point in telling you this is that I was thinking about, what about an Xterra? Like a 2012 Nissan Xterra?
How does Xterra come from Corvette?
Well, so here's the thing. Corvettes are extremely unsafe, especially that generation. And I also have to pick my grandmother up for Sunday dinners every other week. So I don't think that my grandmother with a walker is going to put her walker in the little glass trunk, and then she's not going to fall down into it. And second of all,
ask her?
I mean, she had a Stingray back in the 70s. She's
maybe
familiar with Corvettes.
Maybe she's gonna be like, throw it in the back, sonny, let's get it. I don't know what she talks like.
Is that what my grandma talks like? But so I don't know. It's like it was like $9,000, and it's got like 100,000 miles on it, and it's
what year was it?
A 2012.
Probably not going to explode. The
Probably
VQ40, Miss VQ40, the engine in those, the 4-liter V6, was known to shit through its timing chains. And that's really fun and cheap, except it isn't. But also, have you looked up the fuel economy of this particular vehicle?
It's at 22 on the highway.
It will never be 22.
Okay.
Yeah, that thing's going to get like 15, just universally. Unless you are driving everywhere at 55 miles an hour, which I trust that you do.
Or what about an EV?
What kind of EV?
Well, okay. Hear me out.
Was it the Porsche McCunt Eviana?
Oh my God. No, not her. Which she is cunty. And honestly, Porsche does EVs the best, I think. And so, like, at least in the luxury segment, next to like BMW, not Tesla. But so I would, oh my God. But the starting price of the EV, the Macan EV, is like $83,000. Like, say goodbye to like half the people that bought it. I mean, it started in the 60s and now it's starting 20 grand more. Okay. I don't know. I'm not an etymologist.
Are you saying that the Macan started in the 60s and now the EV is starting in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's expensive, right? Plus, it's like performance-y and shit. Like, I guess it's not like I can afford either of them.
Do you think not yet? The $20,000 probably went into the passenger screen.
Yes. As a person who gets actually pretty like car sick if I'm looking at a screen whilst
really
in the vehicle and not driving, I cannot imagine enjoying that. Like I have been the passenger in I think it was an EQS that had Miss Passenger Screen, and you're like, I can do a thing, and then you just never touch it again.
I would probably touch it once per trip. Sounded weird.
Imagine you're just like driving along on a road trip and you look over and your passenger like fully has like porn pulled up on the passenger screen in the McCunt EV. Like, this reminds me specifically of when I discovered that the printers in our office have a web browser, and I left Today and Madonna History up on the browser on our printer. Like, I'm talking like a fucking like just picture an office copier. Like, you know her, you know the vibes.
Yeah, of course.
And it has a little
I used to work in
screen,
an office.
little screeniana.
Yeah.
And you walk up and you're like, I need 72 copies of like
my ass,
whatever, of my asshole, and then you just see Today in Madonna History.
And I would read that article on the printer. I would take the time. I would sit down. I would pull up a chair. Mm-hmm. I would pour.
You're just looking down at the.
Yeah. Like, wow, this is so interesting.
Same thing in the passenger seat, you know?
Right. Well, before I tell the story, I will say that, like, when I had a Grand Wagoneer once, the Obsidian 2 series or something, Series 2, Obsidian, and it had the screen on the side on the passenger. And in that one, I don't know about any of the other ones with the screens, but in that one, you can actually control the navigation. So you can be like, I want to go to Chipotle, and then send it over to the nav screen in the center. So,
I mean, that is nice. I can see a situation where, like, you're driving and like you don't want to take your like eyes or hands off the road or whatever the fuck, and it's way easier for a passenger to do that kind of thing. So like, I can see that, but at the same time, it's just like the main screen is like 3 inches to the left.
Yeah, it's true. But they won't let you do it in drive. They wouldn't let you change it in drive. But that's, I guess, where the voice command is supposed to come in. But I don't know.
You know what? This actually does make me think that like could be a cunty comeback for like this type of thing. Those like 90s. I know the Oldsmobile Aurora had it. I'm assuming like other Cadillacs and like GM things had it. Like a little cunty knob all the way on the passenger side of the dashboard for the passenger's temperature control for the HVAC. Like, bring back some camp to the car, right? Like I just little touches like that.
But they still do that in modern GMs. They still do that in the Corvette, I'm pretty sure. Like
all the way over in the far right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, the Corvette also has that like dividing fucking wall of China, like the Great Wall, like right between the driver and passenger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that situation, you probably would absolutely need it, right?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Speaking of air conditioning unit control knobs, the Santa Fe, the new one, the one that looks like a knockoff Defender.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the second to highest tier trim level, and it's called the XRT. It's like their new woodland off-road, adventure trim level for most of their for most of their Hyundai products. And so I'm saying that because you would think that on that trim level that there would be like secondary HVAC controls in the second row seat, right? Well, there isn't. There is a fan control and no temperature, just fan controller, and it's in the passenger side third row side. And that's the only spot where there's any type of rear HVAC control. And it makes no sense.
That is really odd. They're like, do
really
luxury other trims of the Santa Fe have like rear AC at all, like in any expanded capacity?
I have no idea, and that's why I did that whole explanation, because I don't know.
Well, I think it could.
I think it should.
But
it does have a large trash can in the second row.
That is critical. You ever seen Kids Ain't Nasty?
But so all this to say, my dad used to work. So I was bringing the shared screen story or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget. My dad came home one time. My dad used to go to Juarez, Mexico a lot, because he used to work at like a factory, or he would he would do production at a factory in Mexico. And he told me one time that they were riding down the road and there was a car that pulled up next to them. And this was in like the early aughts. And the car had several screens on them. And I don't remember what kind of car it was, but and it didn't have the darkest of tint, so you could see into the car.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just blaring porn in this car down I-95 or whatever the highway is. And he witnessed it with his coworkers.
Yeah, you're just like, you're in the car and you're like, we're doing business things, whatever the fuck they were doing. And then someone pulls up next to you and it's just like porn.
It's like the bait bus or something.
Oh my God. It's like, that's giving like Pimp My Ride. Like, I just had this image of like 672 little screens. Like the door panels are just screens. The entire dash is screen. For fucking airbag, your airbag is a screen now. The rear headrests have screens.
If they ever brought back Pimp My Ride, they should just put, because cars nowadays have so many screens, they should just make like one giant glass shard that is just a screen.
just one not even tempered glass shard. Because if you crash this bitch, you just need to die. It's just like, let's just be so for real.
Oh my God. Oh, so Mazda, did you see this? Mazda came out with a 2-row version of the CX-90, and they called it the CX-70, and it looks exactly the same except for 2 air ducts that probably aren't even functional in the front fascia, and called it a CX-70. I'm like, that is what? With a shorter wheelbase? It's not even that long to begin with.
I feel like I have seen every iteration of a take on this, and it's kind of just like a reverse Highlander Grand Highlander to me.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Like, I think the thing that is perhaps the most confusing is that they didn't call it the same thing, right? Like 70 and 90, that's different. If it was like 90 and 90 plus, I don't fucking know, like marketers.
Oh yeah, like with Jeep Grand Cherokee or the Jeep Grand Cherokee L, right? Or like the Grand Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer L. Like they could have started. I mean, I guess they technically needed a 3-road SUV in the US market because they had to, right? But I mean, they could have, I don't know, released it. If they were that identical, why would they not release them simultaneously?
I think that's probably what's confusing a lot of people. nobody's shocked that like they use the same platform to make more than one vehicle, right? Like that happens all the time. I think it's just confusing because they're like soft suggesting that they are two entirely different vehicles, and they very much the fuck are not, right? So either way, I have been hearing generally positive things about my CX90. I have to imagine that most, if not all of that, will transfer directly over to Miss CX70, and dare I even say be more athletic because it is shorter and lighter with this new rear-wheel drive architecture. So really it seems like a smart move, but at the same time, like, y'all are confusing the people that you want to buy your cars.
I mean, the thing is like I'm mad at it, right? And I'm confused by it, but I would buy it. Like, I'm
mad and I'm confused, but I like it.
But take my fucking money.
It's kind of giving, like, with the rear-wheel drive, if you can get the straight six in it, I didn't look. I have no idea.
I don't know. It's
kind of giving like baby X5, right? Like it's very much that size of vehicle. And rear-wheel drive architecture, inline six, turbocharged. I'm saying words like hello.
Oh, I mean, the thing looks like a BMW anyway. I mean, especially in the back.
Hit it from the back.
Do you think that EVs are a reliability with the battery after 100,000 miles? Like, unless it's like, do you think like you have to buy an EV with a warranty if it's got 60,000 miles on it?
That is such a fascinating question, Miss Girl. I've actually read a few different articles about people saying like when you buy a used EV, there's not a lot of knowledge unless you're like an enthusiast.
Like on the longevity.
Or just like how to check the battery health, right? So to your point, like there are models that don't like have active battery cooling or like conditioning, like heating or cooling.
Put like a stethoscope underneath it and be like,
yeah, oh my God, I can see it right now. Just touch the stethoscope to like the window and you're like, it's dead. But like for real, like all those like early ass Nissan Leafs that have like no battery cooling, there's just an air cooled fucking like slab of death that's expensive.
Lithium ion, yeah.
Right. And like they're wearing out, right? And it's just like and that's part of the reason those cars have like 10-cent resale values, right? But it's like if I were buying I don't know, let's say we're talking about like a used Model 3, 60,000 miles, and we're talking about like a used Camry, 60,000 miles, right? I feel like you look at the Camry and you're like, that bitch ain't broken in yet, right? Like you're like, that's not really much for a internal combustion engine. Like time has showed us that if this thing was cared for, even remotely with an oil change, this is going to last, right? But now onto the EV, like we're not seeing crazy high mileages out of these batteries, right? Like some people do, some people that drive them every day. But even then it's like, it seems like the projected lifespan of the vehicle with the battery is just so much shorter in an electric car still. And that's a big problem. And if we don't have like a way to reflect that when selling a used vehicle, being like, this battery is still good or this battery ain't shit, then like you're just kind of winging it.
Yeah, and I guess I haven't even really been around that long to even kind of test out like the longevity of something of an an EV battery. The only thing that I know about it is that when I worked at Carvana, we would take Teslas to the Tesla dealership to get worked on, and if it was something that like only they could kind of deal with. And a lot of times like customers would buy 2012 2014 Model S's, and like the girls behind the counter would literally roll their eyes and be like, why did they buy this like 8-9-year-old Tesla? It's gonna like not last or something like that. I don't know. They were very perplexed as to why somebody would buy something so old, and that leads me to believe that there might, I mean, I don't know, but we don't know, right? So I don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, as much as I don't vocally enjoy Tesla, they did from the jump, at least in the S and such, forward, condition those batteries. So they seem to be, I mean, you still see those early cars on the road. Some of them have had a battery replacement. You know, the failures weren't unheard of, but they had a much better shot at longevity than something that just threw it to the wolves and was like, best of luck, you know?
I just wrote an article on top 20 EVs of 2024. And I can't remember which one. It was either like a BMW. Oh yeah, I think it was the i4. The i4, they just came out with a new i4, and apparently there's better battery conditioning, I guess, for longevity and stuff like that. So that like the newest iterations have better conditioning. So, but did you see, to pivot still on BMW, did you see the new 4 Series? They like refreshed it. You want to talk about cunt in car form? It is
mild hybrid tech, other changes, a modest makeover.
Look at her.
Okay, I feel like they're doing better at that large grill thing now.
That's what I said. I said like I think because how they made the hood and the front fascia so angular, the kidney grill actually makes sense because they like centered the hood and then they pointed the top end of the kidney grills to make them like kind of look like standalone, as they're like not as flush with the car. See how it like kind of like it cuts at an angle at the top like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like domed over it.
Yeah, I think it looks a lot better.
I don't think it's necessarily an unattractive vehicle. It's just like such an interesting like design choice to like make the grill so huge, right?
Oh, but I think it's like, indicative of the luxury market. They're all fucking, and I think it might have started with Lexus. No, I mean Lexus
had those grills.
Those spindle grills are spindling me out.
Spindling me out.
And that's the name of the episode. Yes, that is my memoir.
I noticed actually yesterday, this is so funny. I was leaving the parking deck at work and I saw like a bunch of SUVs parked, like backed in. So I saw their front grills side by side. And it was like, I think it was like maybe like a 2015 Highlander and like Explorer and like that kind of era of vehicles. And they largely had like they had this common element of like the grill slats looking like blades, like a razor blade is what it looked like to me. And I was like,
yeah,
it's kind of fascinating to me how fickle human beings are in like their attention and like what's a trend. And it's like someone does it, and it's like, oh, we all have to do it. And then it's like, oh fuck, we did it too much and now it's over and nobody wants to see it. It's just like on to the next, right? And it's just like,
it's so fucking true. It's so fucking weird because now that I'm doing this as like a day job and I'm just like constantly inundated with pictures of vehicles and, you know, I'm like around them all the time and stuff. I am noticing what the trends are because my first kind of, I guess, hint on like trends, were the black wheels. Because that was like my biggest kind of first trend that I noticed, was that. And then now the biggest trend I think in the industry is the like raised and or embossed lettering on the back end, and also piano gloss black instead of light bars. So I think light bars are like out unless it's like a luxury car, or a Hyundai, because Hyundai loves a light bar. But like, so I can talk about this because the embargo will be lifted by the time this episode's out, but Ford sent me preview pictures of the 2025 Ford Explorer. It got a facelift and a refresh. And the back end has, look, the piano gloss black in the back end with the raised lettering.
That was like the cheap Honda facelift treatment from like a decade ago. You know what I'm talking about? Like they had the Accord and the Odyssey, and then they were like, "Ooh, we're gonna facelift it," and they just added light chunks to it.
Maybe you would have to show me pictures.
Okay,
not right now. I mean, you don't have to.
I'll send them to you later.
But this is the front end now. And and there's a light bar. That's the other thing. The front linear light bar on the front grille now. That's another trend that's going on.
That looks really odd to me.
Doesn't it look weird? Exclusive.
Good for them. Good for them. Is what I will say.
I think it looks generally the same, but I think also like.
Well, it's like it's like the Hyundai. The Hyundai is doing this like thing across their models where they're like doing a facelift and they're giving it those slit lights, like the Sonata has it now. Little slit lights. What is that little chunky model, little hatchback thingy that got them first? I think Miss Kona. I've been seeing those everywhere, and they do look very like distinctive and like kind of, dare I say, futuristic. But I feel like those cars they're just overstyled in so many other ways. Like those types of like, very, very intentional, very stylized elements, I think look really good. But then you see like there's fake vents all over the car for no reason. You're just like, stop. Yes, that's Miss New Sonata, right? Like I think that's an attractive situation, especially because the pre-facelift on that, the front looks like a catfish.
Yeah, it definitely looks
eye whiskers lights.
Yes. I do think that this one, the wing that goes up, like I think that might be doing a little too much, but I do think generally speaking it does look a lot better. But this front light bar is what is also on the Kona, which is also on the which is also on the I think the Elantra. No.
But it is interesting that like this trend of separating the actual headlight from like the DRL seems to be gaining momentum, because for a while, like when Jeep did it with the Cherokee a while ago, it was kind of like, ooh, like what is that? And it's like a couple of manufacturers have dabbled in and out of that, but now it seems to be actually moving forward. Like that's how the Trax is, like, the Vista, and we keep talking about those, and Hyundai doing it everywhere else too.
All right. Well, on that separated headlight and DRL note, let's end here before I fall asleep on camera, huh?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to today's podcast. We very much appreciate and love all of you for supporting our tiny little podcast, Yana. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on any and all platforms. Our home channel is on Spotify, but we are available everywhere else that podcasts are available. Speaking of Spotify, if you so choose to contribute to our gay little podcast, you can contribute 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. You can cancel it at any time, and any and all help is appreciated. We put all of that money right back into the podcast for advertising so that we can get bigger nails and hair. Thank you to our YouTube followers and listeners. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on there. I don't know, DM us, text us, let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about.
Send us death threats.
Don't do that to me, because I have high anxiety, and I will believe it. And but yeah, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.